Well, welcome everybody. We are here today. We are going to talk about our reactions to the Jim Knowles press conference held just 2 days ago. Eric, I'm sure you've watched the press conference as I have. There's a lot, I think, to touch on. Uh, he had a lot to talk about. Specifically to me, it sounds like we may be seeing a little bit of this youth hitting the field this year.
Yes,
There was
about
some,
time.
yes, absolutely. The name Sonny Styles was brought up right away, and Knowles really focused on the versatility of Sonny Styles and the fact that he could actually play at any of the three safety positions. But he kind of hinted like there might be some extended playing time at the high safety versus where we thought we were going to see more up on the line. It sounds like that might be more specialized package stuff where we may see more at the high safety position and doing a little bit more of that coverage. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Josh Proctor better be careful. That's
We
my
saw it. We,
thoughts.
we saw it last year.
One series last year, and that guy got yanked for the season. And he was in all of the rotations to start the spring ball out at number one, free safety. Um, he better not mess up again. Or even if they're rotating him and Sonny comes in and Sonny's showing he's got a knack for the football, he might not let it go. And Jim talked about that. He
Yes,
talked about how that as you you rotate players and you give them snaps, and if they show themselves to be to where you can't take them off the field,
you got to give them more snaps.
then you got to give them more snaps. And there's two particular players that this is going to relate to. So they might not start the season, but I have a feeling that Jim believes over the course of the season, these two guys are going to end up playing more and more and more. And by the time we get to November 25th and Ann Arbor and beyond, we might see Sonny Styles as a starting safety and possibly,
Yep, we're going to talk about the other one here in just a minute. And I know
if you
that you're as
haven't
excited about that as
if
I
you
am.
if you haven't already thought of know who we're talking about, hang tight. But yes, Sonny Styles is going to play a lot.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can actually supplant one of those safeties as a starter to begin the season. I don't think they're going to do that. Um, but
Although I
if
don't think it's out of the realm of
it's
possibility
not
either.
out, you're right, it's not. But I just think they are going to give their upperclassmen the first crack at it here. And if things don't go well, whoosh, out you go, young guys, you're up.
Yeah. Another thing he touched on, Eric, is seems like Tommy Two Thumbs and Steele are both healthy, going to be
Yeah.
ready to go for
Did
the season. Yeah.
did you
Tommy No Thumbs.
catch his name? Tommy No Thumbs? We
Yeah.
gave him two, and Jim just took them right
Took them
back
both
off.
away. Yeah.
Come on, man. No, so that
He was.
Tom.
He's going to make him work for those thumbs like Buckeye leaves, Eric.
Yeah, but here's what was interesting that this kind of leads us to our next. I'm going to lead you here.
Yeah.
He talked about how that there wasn't enough linebacker depth, and that Tommy had to play because there was no one else to take that spot. And that's interesting to me. Jim wants someone there who he trusts, but he also knows I can't put my linebackers in a position like we did last year to where they're not healthy enough to really impact the football game. Now, give Tommy and Steele both a heck of a lot of credit for what they did last year at the end of the season, despite the fact that Tommy, yes, Jim, had no thumbs, was playing with no thumbs. They both played their hearts out. Still had a great game against Georgia.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to try to get that third guy in there. And he's talked a lot about playing the jack as well.
Yes, he did, Eric. And he also mentioned Gabe Powers has shown a lot of improvement over the course of the off season. And you know what? I love this word. The team is prepared to unleash one CJ Hicks.
There it is.
And I'll tell you, Knowles didn't come right out and say it, but he came right out and said it. Mitchell Melton, you have got a friend that's going to be splitting that jack time with you, my friend, because he is ready to unleash CJ Hicks.
Yeah.
Knowles Knowles is ready to reintroduce that jack position
Yeah.
after not really using it in the spring. And he kind of
Did you?
touched on the fact that a lot of it was maybe the players weren't ready for it.
Right.
He feels now that he's got the guys ready for it, I think, in CJ Hicks and Mitchell Melton. And I look for
Yeah.
them to split time at that jack. And Mr. Melton, I mean, I get the feeling that Knowles really loves this kid.
Yeah.
I do. He wants to see him out there playing. But I'll tell you what, a fresh Melton and fresh Hicks out there at that jack position, along with those defensive ends we have, along with the linebackers we got, that could really create some havoc in that front seven. That could cause nightmares for
I'm
defenses.
I wrote this article months ago for Scarlet and Game that this team can win because of, not despite of, their defense.
But
And
Nick Saban said that dominant defenses are dead, Eric.
it's time to prove Nick Satan is Satan. He's wrong. He's a
Yeah.
liar. So let's make this defense, like this defense. I, I think they can. I think they can have a couple shutouts this year. I really
Oh, I
do.
think so too.
If they hold their opponents, the big opponents, the Michigan, the Wisconsin, the Notre Dames, to under 20 points a game, we're going to be a national championship team.
Well, and Knowles came right out and said that he believes that this team could have the best defense in the nation.
Yeah.
He came right out and said it. He said, if they can be great against a Buckeyes offense in practice, then they can be great against anyone.
Which
And I
should
believe that's true. And maybe that he puts maybe I'm hoping that's true because that might put my mind at ease a little bit about that offensive line we're so worried about. But uh, you know,
which
uh,
should be the standard. Why
yeah,
lower your standard? We're the silver freaking bullets. Where have we
yeah,
been since Tressel? I know Urban was an offensive guy. I know Ryan Day's an offensive guy,
yes.
but that doesn't mean you can't have a good defense. Now, the thing about a good offense is sometimes they score so freaking fast that it almost feels like a
And the
turnover,
defense is
right?
gap. Yeah,
But that's where you build up depth. And that is what we finally have on the defensive
yes,
side this year that we have not had since what, 2019, is
yeah.
actual depth. And I would say, I'd make the argument right now. Now, this is yet to be determined, but I'd make the argument we have more depth on this defense than we did in 2019. Now, hear me out. We might not have as high ceiling guys. We don't have a Chase Young,
Right.
a top five pick yet that we know of. We don't have a Mecca Egbuka at corner yet that we know of. But
Emeka Egbuka at corner.
I'm sorry. Who am I thinking of? Detroit went to
Jeff
Atlanta.
Okuda.
Jeff Okuda. Egbuka, Okuda, it's all good.
It's all
Yes. Yeah. I had what's his name's little son on my name. Who's your favorite Buckeye? Emeka Egbuka.
Okuda.
So, but my point is that we had more top end guys in 2019.
Right. But I do agree with you. I think the depth is there. I mean, you
It's
look at it.
there.
We've got four viable defensive ends, four really viable defensive ends right now, with more guys who could claw their way in. We've got the
You
same thing at defensive tackle.
yeah. You name me one other program in the country that has 3 5-star defensive players in their second or third year who are on the 2 deep. I'll
Right.
wait. Georgia? Maybe?
Maybe.
Maybe Georgia? That might
Maybe
be the
Alabama.
only other team.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I don't even
some of
think
the
Alabama's got that.
yeah. I mean, these guys are stacked deep, and I'll tell you, I thought I saw quite a bit of gelling during that spring game, Eric, because we moved from first string to second string, and there wasn't a huge drop off
Mm-mm.
anywhere.
No.
You
I
know,
mean, gosh, we haven't even gotten to like Caden Curry.
right?
How many times in Ohio State history has that sophomore year been a huge jump for
Mhm.
somebody and they became a stud? Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young. That's just on the
Well, yeah,
defensive end.
we haven't talked about Caden Curry. We haven't talked about Hero Canoe.
Yeah, Hero Canoe. Yeah. I
You
mean,
know, you look at the linebackers. We've got guys in there who were big time recruits who are all but forgotten guys. Reed Carrico, where's Reed Carrico at? Uh, I mean, just the depth that this team has, across the defense. I mean, right now we know for a fact that Denzel Ward is starting at one corner. Who's going to start at the other corner? We have a pretty good stock to choose from there, Eric.
yeah, yeah.
You
This
know,
is the first time in a long time at the cornerback position where I feel good.
and
I feel
safety. Look at
good.
safety. They're trying
We're
to
s-
figure out a way to get Sonny Styles on the field.
we're 6 deep.
Yeah,
6 deep at safety, which, when you run a safety driven defense, you hope to be. But yeah, super stoked about this. I would say Jim Knowles in that press conference was extremely confident. He was quietly confident.
if you had this team, wouldn't you be?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, forget confidence. He might have a little bit of a right to be arrogant once we go out there and stop a few teams.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Let me rephrase that. If he goes out there and we stop that team up north, you know, then maybe he's got the
Yeah.
right to
This
be a little
the
arrogant.
silver bullet swag, I hope, is back by the time we go to Notre Dame. Let's have 3 solid defensive
And,
performances in those first 3 games and go into South Bend with some serious silver bullet swag.
we've got Knowles who's very confident, but how much of that swag do you credit to James Laurinaitis being back to?
A lot. A lot.
That's, I
Dude,
think, huge.
it's the same vibe that Brian Hartline gave on the offense when
Yeah,
he when
it
he
really
took
is.
over.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And you know what? Speaking of that team up north, which I was talking about a little bit ago, I really like the fact that Jim Knowles addressed the games against that team up north in Georgia last year and said, "Listen, this was my fault." Even he actually looked a little irritated when somebody mentioned, "Well, I'm sure you wouldn't have called that play if you knew somebody was going to fall down." Yeah, he actually looked a little bit irritated at the guy who said that. Like, why are you blaming the kid? You know, it's on me to put people in the position to succeed. I love that. I love the
Mhm.
fact that he's out there taking responsibility for it because that means he's going to have, I think, even more of a hunger to get it right this time.
Last thing I want to say about the defense. He mentioned that last year the light bulb went on for Tommy No Thumbs, aka Tommy Two Thumbs.
Now we're going to have 11 of them.
And here's the thing. He said he knew where the ball was going to be.
Yes.
And that's how he got there. He said, "We'll have 11 players who will know where the ball is going."
Yeah.
That is silver bullet defense, baby.
Yeah, that's huge
Swarming to the
because,
football, creating turnovers, creating havoc, putting the offense behind the chains at third and
yes.
longs, pinning your ears back and going and absolutely killing the quarterback. That's silver bullet defense. That's what we're going to get this year. I'm confident.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, if that means we're unleashing JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer and Mike Hall and CJ Hicks to just pin their ears back and go after a quarterback, I would not want to be an opposing quarterback this year
They're going to hurt
because
somebody.
I mean, and we almost saw them do it to our own guy in the spring game.
They could have. They could have killed McCord.
They could have, they could have snapped him in half. You
Yes.
know, I just, I can't wait to see it against another team.
Yeah. Yep. All right,
Well,
guys. Hey, yeah. Hey, like, share, subscribe. Chris, take us out, man.
yeah, as Eric said, like, share, subscribe, and as always, go Bucks.